All right, UFC Vegas 45 coming up this Saturday, headlined by Derrick Lewis and Chris Daukaus. This is Chris, right? Yeah, this
It's
is Chris
Chris, man. Yeah.
So what our question here for these two guys before we kind of jump into some more topics. If Derrick Lewis happens to lose again, what does the UFC do with him? You know, obviously he's a big draw. Fans love him, but that would have been a couple tough losses. And some of them, you know, like against Ciryl, kind of looked like he didn't even want to be there. So that's our question to you guys. What do you think in the event that happens again? What do they do with him? Let us know in the comments how you guys feel about that. So,
well, what do you think?
Yeah. What do I think?
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I thought of the question. I don't have the answer for it. I'm thinking about it. Because again, the main thing for me is with some other guys, it's easy to write them off because it's like, well, he hasn't been doing well. But with Derrick, since he's such a big draw, fans love him. I don't know. I think that maybe they start giving him tune-up fights or something. I don't think they're going to get rid of him like right after this, but maybe they try and rebuild him, get the confidence up, because this is definitely not a confidence-boosting fight if he loses, because this guy's an animal. How do you feel? What do you think they do?
I mean, I think they can keep Lewis where he's at. I think he just fights people maybe a couple ranks under, test them, make sure that he's not like completely out of the game yet. For example, if he does well against Daukaus, I think that, you know, that's a good indication. If he does poorly against Daukaus, you know, maybe you put him up against somebody even lower ranked, and that gives him that motivation to, okay, now I have to show myself, otherwise I'm going to drop off completely.
Yeah, I mean, I think that makes sense. It's fair. We'll see if that even is applicable. So let's kind of look into both of these guys. Let's start with Derrick, since we were just touching up on him. If we look at his last couple fights leading into here, so 25-8 overall, he was on a little streak entering the Gane fight. He had that pretty vicious knockout of Curtis Blades right before. Earns himself for the interim belt, since they were having issues with whatever was going on with Francis. And dude, I don't know. Again, like I was saying, he just didn't seem like he wanted to be there. Maybe the pressure of it being in his backyard in Houston got to him. I don't know what it was. And we haven't really heard anything from Derrick since then. I don't know if you've seen anything. I haven't seen anything. And even as we're 5 days away, whatever we are now from the upcoming event, I still haven't heard anything from him. When I saw he was fighting Daukaus, I was surprised. Like, dude, I didn't even know. I thought this guy was just gone. It was like no media, no interviews. I haven't even heard of like a viral Instagram thing that he put about something funny. Nothing. It's been quiet. So maybe it's a good indication. Maybe he's like he felt embarrassed, and now he's really honing in and taking things more seriously. Even though it seemed like he was doing that going into the Gane fight, he was saying, you know, he was trying to get his diet under control, all that stuff. I don't know. But so I'm not trying to make it seem like it's all in despair. He had that one loss. It's just, it was reminiscent to me of when he fought Francis. Both him and Francis did nothing that whole fight. And then Derrick just kind of won. And he attributed to some back pain against Ciryl. I don't know what it was. And Ciryl was the one just like, almost like he didn't have a dance party. He was just hitting Derrick, and Derrick just wasn't doing it.
Yeah, I think at least this has more to do with Gane than Lewis, but my feeling on the matter is maybe people just go up against Gane and they shit the bed because of some sort of intimidation factor. Like, they know that he's tricky. They know that he's going to do some weird stuff. They're going to have trouble closing. Like, I felt the same sort of fight happen with Gane and Rosenstruck, where I didn't expect Rosenstruck to be as timid as he was. And I feel like our boy, the Black Beast, was also a little bit timid in his fight against Gane. So, because he wasn't like that in the Curtis Blades fight, arguably not even close.
It wasn't the same way. He was a little quiet initially. He was kind of feeling. I think even Derrick said after the Blades fight, he was kind of like, you know, I was kind of not feeling it there. But then that's the thing with Derrick. If he touches you, we don't know if you'll wake up.
Yeah.
So that's why he always has that thing. And even in this matchup, and we'll talk about our picks and all that a little bit later. But even in this matchup, that's the one thing that's always going to keep him there, because he could be eating ass for three if it's a 5-rounder, for 4.5 rounds. If he's still up on his feet, he can still win the fight. He's one of those. And yeah, I know we always say like it's a fight, you never know what happens, which is true. But especially with him, because of the power on those trucks that he has for fists, you just don't know.
So on the subject of fists, though, Chris Daukaus is no
Yeah,
joke, man. I mean, he finished his prior to his last fight against. I'm not even going to try to butcher this guy's name. I think it's Shamil is his first name.
Abdurrahimov.
It's Shamil, right? Yeah, Shamil.
Yes.
Prior to that, I think he had been 5 first round knockouts back to back. 1, 2,
Correct.
3, 4 back to back.
Four,
My
there you go.
apologies. And then his latest against Shamil was in the second round. So you want to talk about guns, man? Chris is no joke. He rarely ends up into the second round and almost never into the third. Never. Except
one time.
yeah, like so. As big as the Black Beast guns are, Daukaus is a monster in his own right, and I'm curious to see how that's going to translate.
Yeah, because look, man, he's you can tell in the way he fights, and you can tell how he is when he was talking. Because there's obviously fighters that talk and then they go in the octagon and then it looks like a completely different person. He talks and walks the same way. He's very confident. You see it in the way he's fighting. You could argue he had 2 knockouts against Shamil. I think Herb was the ref on that one. Herb, I think, cost Shamil a couple of years off his life by letting that fight go a little bit longer. The world's saliva was flying out of Shamil's mouth. It was brutal. I mean, this guy recently, I think, finally left the force. He was a cop in Philly. I think now he's like fully dedicated to doing what he's doing, and for very good reason, because he's showing that he can be a legitimate threat. Now, it's not applicable in this fight, but kind of going forward with these guys that are just bona fide absolute strikers, you wonder, in the event they fight someone that has that ability to do something on the ground, what do they do? It's always, and it's not just heavyweights in general. This is always something you wonder. You see, one of his losses was by submission. I don't know when that was. Probably wasn't that recent. And he hasn't fought anyone that really has that. If we scroll back down again, yeah, none of these. Well, let's see. Oleinik. Granted, this is a much older Oleinik. Oleinik has that submission ability. But
we didn't get to see it during that fight, though.
No, and again, this is an old. The fact that Oleinik is fighting is still kind of scary to me because he's a lot older and he looks very old when he's fighting at this stage. So kind of not fully fair there, but whatever. In the UFC, at least, that's been like the lone guy that has that ability. But he's been just breezing through so far. Parker Porter, Rodrigo Nascimento, Oleinik, and now Abdurakhimov. The steepest of competition? No, but still. If you're fighting even easy guys, you should be doing what he's doing, putting them to sleep pretty quickly.
So what do you think is going to happen? What do you think is going to happen in this matchup between Daukaus and Biggie Boy, or the Black Beast?
That's the thing. Now looking at this, my pick would be Daukaus. Looking at what he's been doing so far, again, only 4 fights in the UFC and not too many fights overall. And you're comparing 35 professional fights for Derrick versus 15 for Chris, which is obviously a big discrepancy. And we often see these nice looking records of 12-3 versus a guy that has the more bloated record because they fought so much. And the guy ends up being the favorite. In this case, Chris is also the favorite. But then they end up losing. And I think sometimes that experience really is an underappreciated value. But I just feel like just based on what we've seen of Chris of late, and then just that very strange performance that Derrick showed against Ciryl was enough for me to be kind of worried about Derrick in this matchup. If it was someone else that wasn't rising the way Chris has been, I maybe wouldn't feel that way. But I think just given what Chris has shown us is my concern. And Derrick folded that last fight. He didn't just, it wasn't just that he lost. It was almost like he gave up. And you can't do that against really any heavyweight, but especially someone what Chris has been showing us, I don't think you can do that.
So my take on it is that I think Derrick Lewis is going to win. I have faith in the Black Beast. My logic is that he's got a reach advantage of 3 inches, and that was negated during the fight with Gane. Gane is way more lanky, has, if I'm not mistaken, way more reach. And he's just elusive. So I think it was going to be harder for Derrick Lewis to close in on him. Whereas with Daukaus, I feel like he's more evenly matched. The biggest question for me is going to be, in regards to Derrick Lewis, is going to be how much heavier than Chris is he going to end up being. Because Chris is usually right about where the weight is. Like, if I'm not mistaken, ESPN has him at 230. I don't know how accurate this is because come weigh-in time, this is gonna all go out the window.
It's not like UFC just showed him at 250. So I don't
Yeah,
remember when he
exactly.
weighed in last time. Derek always weighs in around what they do have him. He's always like he's at the limit every time.
Yeah, so that's gonna be a consideration for me. However, Derrick Lewis has shown that even though he comes in really heavy, it's never been an issue for him going into the second and third round. So if this drags out past the first, for me, it's no question Derrick Lewis takes it because we don't know if Daukaus can actually perform in the second and third. Considering he rarely makes it out of the first, we have no idea what's going to happen there. Now, I don't know, but I think the lines that Vegas set are accurate.
Let's pull up what we have there. Yep.
Yeah, we have Lewis at plus 150 and we have Daukaus at minus 140. I think that's fairly accurate in terms of where I would set the lines at, considering how badly Lewis lost against Gane and considering the danger that Daukaus presents. So this is a good test for Lewis, and it's a nice little payout if you have any Derrick Lewis fans in the crowd that want to, hot take. So I my pick on this is definitely going to be Derrick Lewis, and I feel like he's going to come out swinging. He's going to come out looking to prove himself because that was not the way you want to lose in a fight. But who knows? Daukaus will also be looking to prove himself.
Yeah, I mean, there again, I agree with where the line was set to. I think it's pretty accurate because, like, Derek winning, for example, wouldn't surprise me. Like, I'm not gonna be like, what the heck? Where'd that come from? No. And to quickly go back to like the whole matchup with Ciryl that you were saying, Ciryl, for the size that man possesses, is incredibly nimble on his feet. So that's not Chris. That's not most of heavyweights, to be frank, but that's not Chris either. So they're more similar in that style, like you were saying. And these are just two really large human beings that will just hit each other. Hopefully, they don't just tap dance around. I don't imagine Chris doing that, but it's just that Derek has shown us that he can do that. So we'll see. I mean, again, maybe the silence from Derek is a good sign. Maybe he comes in better shape than we've seen him before. Because I remember leading to that Ciryl fight, he was saying he was hoping to come in around like 255, and he came in at like 265. So who knows, man? Again, the silence could be a good thing. The silence could mean nothing. We'll find out come Saturday. But yeah, and we couldn't find the rounds really on a normal website to get over under on the rounds as well. But I would imagine, even though this is going to be a 5-rounder, I would imagine it would be set at 1.5. And if I were to guess, the over might be like a possible slight favorite or maybe around even, just because Derek kind of went over. Not kind of, he went over his last fight. Chris went close to going over. So I think it'll be close, and I imagine it being over 1.5. Honestly, that one's a tough one for me to pick. So I won't abstain. I'll throw a pick in there. If it's 1.5, I'll say the over, but not with any confidence.
I'd take the over on if it's set at 1.5 as well.
Yeah, so we'll see how this one pans out. Big test for both men. Big rebound opportunity for Derek, and for Chris, big opportunity to continue his ascent and continue to really build on the name. Let us know, again, your thoughts on that initial question of what happens to Derek in the event that he loses. And just let us know, what do you guys think? Who's going to win? How's it going to happen? And any other thoughts you guys might share. Andrew, anything else for you on this?
Yeah, not just thoughts, man. If you guys have criticism, hate, love, whatever it is, go ahead and throw that down there too. We appreciate all of it, and it really helps.
For sure. Thanks again.